Hello everyone. Let's start with the scenario that every business analyst, product owner, or quality engineer knows too well. It's your first day on the project, you're handed access to the GitHub repositories, few dozens of spaces with documentation, and couple of Jira boards. And you've been told this is what we've built. Now we need to understand it, update the requirements, plan the next phase, do some testing, wherever. You open the codebase and see hundreds of files, the documentation is out of date or worse even not existent. The original product owner left 6 months ago, developers are too busy to work you through everything, and your stakeholders are asking, what features do we have? What user stories were implemented? Is there a technical debt? Sound familiar? We do meet people struggling with the same every week, and oh boy, they need some AI to help. As the journey starts, you face several critical challenges. First thing, understanding what was built. Second, reconstructing requirements. Third, bridging technical and business. And planning forward. Today, I'm gonna show you how product inventory assists with some of those, all without a really single line of a code. Let's dive in. Here is my scenario. I'm a business analyst who just joined the team that built VSCode extension. My job is to understand what is built and document the requirements. As the sample repository, I took a web search tool that allows us all to use the search within the GitHub Copilot. Once I'll pull the code and open it, I see some TypeScript files and configurations, and frankly saying this is a bit beyond of my area expertise. Now for the better demo visibility, I need to configure the VS Code layout a bit. I don't need to be a developer to use the product inventory. I just need access to the code base. Let's check it out. I'm running the help command to recall the parameters of a function. Now what I need to do, I need to run the Elitea inventory just with the TypeScript preset, and it is needed to build a knowledge. On this command, I'm specifying the folder with the code and the path where I want to store the graph. Once the process kicks in, Elitea started to create a complete semantic model of a product. Something of sort of creating a queryable database of requirements. It's basically extracting features, it's extracting the user interaction, business rule, integration points, configuration options, workflows. It's getting everything needed to understand how the product works. The ingestion is done, and now I have a complete knowledge base and I can start asking the questions. In order to start, I'm using the CLI command called Elitea chat, right? Once it's loaded, I would need to add it access to my knowledge graph, as well as the directory with the code, which I'm doing using the simple commands. Now, as my chat buddy have access to wherever I used to actually create the graph and the graph itself, I may start asking the question. And the first question, as every BA would do, I would like ask it, describe the functionality of this product. But it will be a bit in a more AI-ish way. I'm like saying, hey, extract me functions, right? Present and store them in some document or wherever, right, on my local system. And it start processing and see what it's doing. It's actually querying the graph, querying the files, trying to find the good information, right? And trying to build an understanding. Once it's doing so, it's going through a lot of linked information within the repository, right? Something it cannot find, like for example, in this case, it cannot find package.json because we just not added the access to it, right? So like, and it's just not there. Oh, this is a good one. It's actually a rising exception. It tried to create a document for us, but Elitea itself instructed how to fix it, right? And the next tool call it recovered and start generating the documents, right? And we can see that there is a document created, and basically what is happening now is our chat body continues to extend the content of a file with the new chunks of information. So not just generating one context of a response in one shot, but continuously adding new pieces, which adds more and more context into the functional descriptions of a system. So now let's take a look what is actually going on there while this thing is being created. So it's created the implementation document, right, which starts with the main functionalities reviews, right, describing what it actually does, that it uses the tree, it uses some scraping and indexing, and even specifying the model it is used for indexing, right, and the capabilities and integrations and how it actually works within the VS Code. Apart from the high-level descriptions, it contains a bit of an architecture overview, on again on a bit of a higher level, but it describes like how the process and how the user request goes through the flow. Apart from that, it also have a bit of a more details, like double click on a technology and responding and describing the critical system components and how they interact, what are parameters, what are integrations, and how it's being done. So, and all in all, right, as you may see, we kind of not even 20% in a document, and it contain quite a lot of valuable information, where it a bit of a mix with between of business level descriptions and the technology descriptions in order to get enough of an information for everyone wondering. Once the implementation complete, we may also check what was missing and what is not. So like it's basically provide some of a description for us. But at this stage, and for the sake of a demo, we don't really care about the missing pieces, right? Or even more details on the implementation. We now focus on a high level and we want to get a description of our epics and user stories, which are actually implemented within this toolkit, right? So the generation starts as the last time it did, right? So what is basically happening? We now have the information about the technical description, this web search thing, right? Apart from it, we also still have our knowledge graph and the access to the database, right? And this is basically pretty much the same process as it goes. And now our chat body started to generate us the user stories, right? And it is basically doing it in exactly the same way as before. So, but again, different format, different data, but the process is also incrementally adds and adds, and as it go, we see that the document actually increases even as we look at it. So we have the user stories. The user stories are numbered. The user stories, all the user stories have acceptance criteria, have a technical notes, right? And in a matter of fact, the details of a user stories could be like expanded as we need it. So for the sake of a demo, it's a bit of a simplified view, but it still have like in combination of product technical description and the user stories, it have quite enough of an information, right, in order to implement it. So the user stories, right, basically split on the 7 epics and presented to us as the big list of data, right? And having of these user stories is also a good start, right? But for even planning of a good implementations is not quite enough, I would say, right? Because just having of a user story, there is still a piece of work that need to be done, right? And it's basically planning which user story need to be done after what, right? And how they're interconnected and how they are dependent. But even for that work, we can actually we can actually ask our chat body to help us with the building of a product implementation plan, right? Product implementation plan provides us a good insights on what actually need to be done there, right? Or what was done in our case, right? And what, as we see now, right, we get it got it in a very interesting moment when it's just adding the new chunk. So it's kind of created a plan and then start to build up on this plan. Let's switch on the preview mode and start looking. See, awesome. So it's actually split the user stories on the levels, right? And it have a foundation level. The first thing that need to be done no matter what, nothing blocks, right? And then how to process implementing the user story. And as you may see, the user story is grouped and the epics are grouped, right? But the sequence are actually not very linear, right? And we can go on and then see the dependency matrix. Which user story depends on what, right? This dependency matrix is critical for the implementation and the proper resource planning. Apart from a dependency matrix, we also can see the sprints. So how our chat body suggests us to structure the sprints. And as you may also notice, there is a stars indicating the critical path, right? And with all these details, right, it is amazing to see how it was able to restructure or reverse engineer, if you will, all this information from just a simple code base, right? And most importantly, right, it done it within the minutes, right? And I would bet that this job was at least like couple of hours, right? I mean, when I say couple of hours, I mean tens and tens of hours, but who's counting? To conclude the demo, I want to show you that in about 15 to 20 minutes, we created a fair set of a project documentation, right? Having only one repository at hand, right? Imagine what we will be able to do if we will have multiple repositories, knowledge base, and the JIRAs, right? The source of knowledge will be amazing, and we will be uh, succeeding on our job, on our way to one joint context. Thank you all.